The road was empty, the kind of empty that made silence feel heavy. Emma's car rolled slowly down the cracked two-lane highway, the GPS screen glowing faintly in the dark. The voice on the navigation had gone quiet after saying, "You have arrived." But there was nothing there. No houses, no lights, no sign of life. Only a rusted sign leaning on its last bolt that read, "Welcome to Harrow's End. Population. Waiting." The headlights caught movement. Shapes, people, standing perfectly still on the sides of the road. Their faces were pale, their clothes old and colorless. They didn't blink. They didn't move. Emma's heart began to pound. She pressed the gas, but the car didn't respond. The engine was on, yet the wheels wouldn't turn. She tried opening the door. It was locked. Her own reflection stared back from the windshield, eyes wide, hands trembling. The figures outside began stepping closer. They didn't walk like normal people. They drifted, as if pulled forward by invisible strings. Then, from somewhere deep within the town ahead, a bell began to ring. 1, 2, 3 slow chimes. And all at once, every figure whispered in one haunting voice, "We've been waiting for you, Emma." The headlights flickered. The world around her dimmed to black, and then the car doors unlocked by themselves. It had all started 2 days earlier, when Emma Calloway got a call from a lawyer she'd never met. He said her late grandfather left a property somewhere in rural Kansas. A small town, he'd said, not on most maps anymore. She almost ignored it. Her grandfather had died when she was a baby, but curiosity got the better of her. The lawyer sent an address, and she decided to make the trip after work on Friday. Emma was 27, a graphic designer from Chicago, tired of city noise and bad dates. A road trip sounded like peace, maybe even adventure. She packed an overnight bag, filled up her car, and left before dawn. The drive started beautiful, wide skies, golden fields, an open road. But by afternoon, her phone lost service, and the GPS started glitching. It rerouted itself several times, showing roads that didn't exist, then correcting again. Emma laughed at first, thinking it was her cheap phone mount. But as the miles stretched, the signs grew older and stranger. At one point, she passed a faded wooden board that said, "Harrow's End, 12 miles ahead." She frowned. She hadn't typed Harrow's End into her GPS. She didn't even know a town by that name. The next town should have been Bartonville, according to her printed map, but there were no signs of Bartonville anywhere, just cornfields that seemed to never end. Emma tried calling her mom. No signal. She tried switching on the radio. Only static. Then, through the crackle, she heard a soft voice, like a whisper under the noise. "Don't stop until you get here." She froze, glancing at the radio. The voice was gone, just static again. By dusk, the highway had narrowed into a lonely stretch of cracked asphalt. The trees on both sides grew thick, blocking out the sunset. The GPS said 5 miles to her destination, but there hadn't been a single car for an hour, not even birds in the sky. When she finally saw the sign that said "Welcome to Harrow's End," her stomach twisted. The town looked like it had been frozen in time. Old brick buildings lined the street, windows dark. A grocery store with a flickering neon open sign. A diner with chairs still turned upside down on tables. A clock tower that read 3:15, even though her phone said 7:42. She parked in front of the diner and stepped out cautiously. The air smelled strange, like rain that hadn't fallen yet. "Hello," she called. Her voice echoed faintly between buildings. No answer. She walked to the door of the diner. The sign said "Open," but the door creaked when she pushed it. Inside, everything was spotless. Not dusty, not abandoned, just empty. A cup of coffee still sat on the counter, steam faintly rising from it. That's when she noticed a photo on the wall. It showed a group of townspeople, smiling, standing in front of the diner. And in the middle of them was her grandfather. His arm was around a woman Emma had never seen before. And right beside him was Emma. Same face, same mole on her cheek, same necklace she was wearing right now. She stumbled back, heart racing. The photo had a date scribbled on it, October 21st, 1973. Before she could process what she was seeing, the bell above the door jingled. Footsteps approached slowly behind her. Emma turned around. No one was there, just a faint scent of perfume, and a whisper that came from everywhere and nowhere all at once. "You're late." The lights flickered. The coffee cup rattled on the counter. The clock on the wall began ticking again, but backwards. Emma ran outside, stumbling toward her car. But the street wasn't empty anymore. Figures stood in every doorway, their faces shadowed, unmoving, as if they had been waiting there the whole time. A tall man at the far end of the street raised his hand and pointed directly at her. Then all of them, every single one, started walking toward her at the same time. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She jumped into her car and turned the key. The engine roared to life. She hit the gas. The car lurched forward, but the road ahead was gone. The street just ended. Beyond it was nothing, only blackness, a flat, endless void. The figures didn't stop walking. And just before the car's headlights went out completely, she saw something in the darkness, a sign standing alone in the void. It said, "Welcome back, Emma." The engine cut off. Everything went silent. Then she heard the bell again. 1, 2, 3 chimes. And every shadow whispered in perfect unison, "The town waits for you." The car doors wouldn't open. Emma pulled and kicked, but they stayed locked as if welded shut. Her chest felt tight, and her breath came in sharp gasps. The shadows outside pressed closer, surrounding the car completely now. Their faces were still unreadable, but their eyes glimmered faintly, like light reflecting off dark water. Then a knock. Once, twice, 3 times on the window beside her. She turned her head slowly. It was a little boy, maybe 8 or 9. Blonde hair, pale face, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, suspenders, scuffed shoes, a white shirt that looked decades out of style. He smiled at her, but his smile didn't look right. It didn't reach his eyes. He mouthed something through the glass. Emma couldn't hear, but she read his lips clearly. "You came back." She shook her head, whispering, "No, I've never been here." The boy tilted his head. Then, just like fog clearing from a mirror, his expression changed, blank cold. He reached out and pressed his palm against the window. The glass frosted where his hand touched it. Emma jerked back. The boy whispered again, this time his breath fogging the glass. "You said that last time, too." And then he vanished. The car door unlocked by itself with a click. Emma didn't wait. She threw the door open and bolted outside. The night air hit her hard, carrying a faint hum, almost like whispering voices layered together in the distance. She didn't know where to go, so she ran toward the clock tower she'd seen earlier. It loomed tall over the town square, its frozen hands pointing to 3:15. As she ran, she noticed something strange. The buildings looked newer now. The broken windows were whole. The paint wasn't chipped anymore. The diner sign was glowing brightly as if it had just opened for the day. It was as if time had reversed itself. When she reached the tower, she stopped. The doors at its base were slightly open, and faint light spilled from inside. She pushed them wider and stepped in. The air inside was warm, filled with the smell of burning wood. There was a staircase spiraling upward and a table in the middle of the floor with something resting on it. A journal. Emma's hands trembled as she picked it up. The leather cover was cracked and worn, but her last name was burned into the front. Calloway. She opened the first page. It was written in neat handwriting. Her grandfather's name at the top. October 20th, 1973. The town has chosen its keeper again. She doesn't remember yet, but she will. They always do. Her throat tightened. She flipped through more pages, all filled with strange notes and sketches of buildings, faces, and a circle drawn again and again with names inside. Some names were crossed out. Her eyes stopped at one line that sent a chill down her spine. When the chosen leaves, the town forgets. When she returns, the town wakes. Something creaked above her. Emma looked up. At the top of the spiral stairs stood a woman in a long black coat. She looked familiar. Her shape, her hair, the way she stood. Who are you? Emma called. The woman didn't move for a long moment. Then she began walking slowly down the steps, her heels echoing in the silence. When she reached the bottom, Emma saw her face clearly for the first time. It was her, older, same eyes, same necklace, just older, maybe 20 years older. Emma's mouth went dry. What is this? The older version of herself smiled softly. You finally came back. I waited. Emma shook her head. No, this isn't real. Her older self stepped closer, whispering, It's always real, Emma. You're the keeper now. You always were. I don't understand. The older woman raised her hand and pointed at the journal. That's why I called you here. The town remembers what you forget. I don't want this. Emma's voice cracked. I just want to leave. The woman's expression softened. You can't. Not yet. Then she placed her hand on Emma's shoulder. And suddenly, images flashed in Emma's mind like lightning. A little girl running through the same streets. A crowd of townspeople smiling, chanting her name. Bells ringing. And her own voice, much younger, whispering, I promise I'll come back. Emma stumbled back, gasping for air. When she looked up again, the older version of herself was gone. The journal had fallen open to a new page that wasn't there before. It read, October 21st, 2025. She has returned. The wait is over. Midnight begins the cycle. Then the clock above her chimed once, twice, 3 times, and a whisper filled the entire tower, circling her like wind. The town waits for you. The lights went out. When Emma opened her eyes, she was standing outside again, but this time it was daylight. The streets were alive with people laughing, walking, waving at her as if everything was normal. She turned toward the diner. The same one. A man smiled from the door and called, Morning, Miss Calloway. Same coffee as always. Emma froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked down at her hands and saw they weren't hers anymore. Wrinkled skin, an old wedding ring she didn't own. Her reflection appeared in the diner window. She was old, maybe 70, and the clock behind her read 3:15.